welcome to episode 8 of Anne Chats. In this episode, I'm talking with Cathy Soraghan. Cathy is a personal trainer, a life coach, a nutritionist, and an entrepreneur who lives in Wicklow. And I first met Cathy after my show, Further Adventures in Womaning, in the Pavilion Theatre in Dún Laoghaire. And we had a great chat about fitness. And I kind of thought that's what this chat's going to be about. And we'll be talking about her business, Women on the Run, which is personal training and life coaching for busy people. And her years and years of experience in that field, because she is one of the first personal trainers in Ireland. She has 33 years experience in this field, so she's a real pioneer of the area. But we talked about so many other things. We discovered that we were both fat kids and the tyranny of trying to keep the pounds off all our lives. And we also had a commonality in operations that go wrong. Cathy's just had a devastating experience with a hip operation, so that's a very interesting piece there, what she's just been plunged into with that. And then she talked about her background and what makes her the woman she is. She has so much energy and life force, and she's so positive. I loved her line. We were talking about Botox and the tyranny of looking a certain way, and she said, who cares if you've got wrinkles as long as they're laugh lines. Cathy Soraghan, thank you for inviting me out to your beautiful house.
You're very
Wicklow.
welcome, Anne.
I met you after a show in the Pavilion Theatre in Dún Laoghaire. I had a fascinating chat with you about your business as a fitness trainer, but the story is much bigger than that. So tell us, who is Cathy Soraghan?
Well, I don't know anymore. No. Yeah, I've always loved, being fit, looking after my well-being. I was diagnosed in my early 20s with a heart condition. I didn't know I had one, but it turned out to be quite serious. I had a problem with the rhythm in my heart. And I was always very fit in school, played hockey. I just lived to be out on the hockey pitch. Yeah. My coaches at the time used to say, your face gets very red, are you all right? Are you all right? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just want to get the goal in. Could you get out of my way? Because I'm about to score a goal.
I love the way you did that. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
So, in those days, that's as far as it went. And then I got into athletics, and the guy, in fairness to the trainer at the time, no equipment, feeling your pulse with his two fingers, kept saying to me, there's something amiss with your rhythm in your heart, right? But again, completely ignored him because I was too busy doing my Leinster 1500 metre races. I'll have time for that when I'm old, I'd say.
Of course, when you're young, you feel invincible.
Yeah.
You think, no, it can't be anything.
Can't be anything.
Yeah.
So then I was working full time, and then in the ESB, hated every second of it. All I thought about was when I was going to get back out to sport, because I really wanted to do PE when I left school. Yeah. But unfortunately, my mum was a widow, and we didn't get that. The girls didn't get the opportunity. The boys were going to college, the girls were going to get jobs. And she sent me to secretarial school. And I went in the door of Rathmine Secretarial School, and then I'd go back out the back door and into the library next door. And one day at the dining room table, my sister and her, they both came at me from either side of the table. I thought, oh, you're a big shit now, kiddo. Because they put a typewriter on the table and they said, now, do you want to show us the QWERTY keyboard, Cathy? And I went, the what? The what? The QWERTY keyboard. Do you know how to place your hands on that thing? And I was like, fuck no. And then they were like, you're not going to the college, are you? And I was like, nope, can't stand it. So ESB, my mother applied for the ESB for me, and I got the interview, even though I went in dressed not to get the interview. I went in a pair of desert boots, jeans and a sweatshirt in 1979 saying, I really don't want a job in here, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got the job. But I still
what were you doing in there?
I was a clerical officer. Oh my God, it was just unreal. I was so bored. And all I kept wanting to do was be out, sport. So in the end, I got an opportunity because when I got married very young, and I got an opportunity to go to college. I studied Montessori.
Where did you meet your husband?
In a car crash in Leeson Street. He bumped into me, and I had kind of pinched my mother's Mini for the night. And then I had to go and explain, well, actually, the car's not coming home. I am, though. That's the good thing. But that's how we met. And 6 months later, we were engaged. And a year and a bit later, we were married. Incredible. I was only 22. He was only 25. We thought we knew everything, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And besotted with him I was. But he had a family business and it was just work. And that was just what was expected of him continuously. He wasn't home. He was away. He had to travel all the time. I had two beautiful children with him, Jeff and Hazel, who I absolutely adore. And in fairness to him, so does he. He's a great dad.
Yeah.
So we split up, and it was fine. It's good now, And I built this house when we separated and divorced. I kept this site. I bought it off him. And then I built this home that we're in today.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, and I love your garden and the whole environment.
Well, that was just rubble. So I've done all the garden.
It's so beautiful. So, you have this amazing entrepreneurial spirit that seems to go through your personal life and your business life, that you make things the way you would like them to be, which is an extraordinary. It's an extraordinary gift. To be like, you were working in the ESB and hated it. So did you leave that when you got married, or did
well, again, I mean, I was just lucky. I was fortunate that at the time, Paul was working in his family business, and I really wanted to go to college, and he said, look, there was an opportunity came to study the Montessori down in Dunleary. So I took that first, a step, and then I set up my own school. Shortly after we married, I set up my own Montessori school.
That's so great, though. But to have that, I was saying to you earlier, you really have amazing cojones. You go for training that, but then you set up your own business.
Somebody did one of those, isometric testing on me, and they said that I have an absolute entrepreneurial brain. I just don't see the obstacle. Right? Yeah. I mean, I've other major failings, but I don't see the obstacle. And so as a trainer, as a personal trainer and a personal life coach, when people would come into me, because they would get both from me, most of the time, and it is real personal training. It is not a group class of 10 women with 2 trainers telling them what to do. It is real one-to-one.
And that is the physical training.
That's the physical training.
Telling me that you have also done like life coaching.
Life coaching, yeah, I did. And so sometimes we would combine the physical session with a life coaching session, because people, when they're moving and exercising, they like to talk, right? And so people would say to me, I've always wanted to do this instead of what I'm doing. Now, some of these people would be really high-end executive men and women. And I'd say to them, well, would you like to explore that a bit more? Because coaching is about you exploring the path of change. It's not counselling, and it's not telling people what to do either. Yeah. They have to want to do this themselves, right? So eventually, it just kind of went hand in hand. And so I had some most amazing executives working with me. One in particular I can think of straight away. She was working in, and she was telling me she was on antidepressants and blah, blah, blah. And then she said, she wanted to do something else. So I coached her. We switched from doing personal training. I said, well, do you want some coaching sessions? And she said, you do that as well? And I said, yeah. So we did. And to this day, I've met that girl a few times, and she can't thank me enough, because she left the corporate world, threw away the keys of the Merc, that all came with the job, and set up her own, business, and is flying it now. She is actually doing sports coaching, sports psychology stuff now herself, because she did play rugby for Ireland as well. Oh. So that was her real passion. When
you are trying to identify people's passions, and sometimes it's extraordinary how people feel there's something wrong in their life, but they can't see what their passion is. How do you help them find what their passion is? How do you help them? Do you do abstract stuff to begin with?
Yeah, very much so. It was very funny with that particular girl. I had the green bucket, the amber bucket, and the red bucket. And every time she came out with a thought, right, and I had some tissues, and every time she came out with a thought, I'd say, well, is that a positive or a negative thought you have now? Negative. Throw it into the red bucket there. Red bucket. Or the amber bucket would be, well, you could maybe work on that. And then the green was go. Go with that thought. Keep that thought going. And so we'd work from those things. And it was very funny, because on the first session, the red bucket was absolutely spewing over with all the stuff that she'd been conditioned with from a childhood. Everything was all there. And then the amber was stuff that she was wanting to do but afraid to do. Because again, conditioning, parents saying to their child, but you wouldn't be any good at that. are you thinking about doing that for?
And particularly women.
Particularly
women.
women.
Our generation.
I mean, my mom, God bless her, she was the best mom in the world, but like she came from a background where, you know, women, she was like born First World War, survived Second World War, you know, my parents got married during the Second World War, had us, and then my father died very suddenly when he was only 48. I was only 6. The rest of my family, like the eldest was 13, there was 4 of us. They were tough times. She was in the rag trade and she had to go to work in, you know, in South William Street. I tell that story now when the Americans come over and come on some of my tours that I'm now doing.
Yeah, because you also do it, yeah.
So I say this used to be the rag trade street in Dublin was South William Street. And as children, she had to bring us into the factory because she didn't have the luxury of being able to hire someone to mind us in the summer. So the boss used to let her bring myself and my sister in to the factory.
Do you think you got some of your entrepreneurial spirit from your mother when you see?
Totally, because she used to say, "There's no such word as can't. It's your will or you won't. Well, are you doing it or you're not?" But that word "can't" doesn't exist in the vocabulary.
It's amazing to have that in your blood because it's just
and it is. I'll give anything a go. You know, I am an adventurer. I honestly.
So, backtracking again, you studied the Montessori teaching, then you set up a Montessori school, but tell me how you got back into your passion for fitness and sport.
Well, as I said, I always wanted to do PE, and I was a member in Westwood Gym, and this girl came up and said to me, by the way, there's a course coming on board here in Westwood. It's the first time that Limerick University have taken the course off campus. And I said, and she said, it's called the National Certificate in Exercise and Fitness. And she said, didn't you say you always wanted to do PE? And I said, yeah. And I said, really? So I contacted the girls that were running the course, and I had to do, it's really funny, because I had to do an interview, and then you had to give a demo of an aerobics class. And I'd never done an aerobics class in my life, right? So I go in to the studio and I'm pretending that I'm giving the class, right? And I could see the two of them looking at me going, oh, right, yeah.
Did you literally just make it up?
They made the whole thing up, right? And then they said to me afterwards, God rest, the two of them were passed now, they both got brain tumours. And they said to me, how did you think you did there? And I said, shocking. And they said, yeah, well, at least you're honest. You're on the course. And that was it. I came home to Paul and I said, I got on the course. And he went, huh? And I said, I passed that aerobics test.
At least you're honest.
I put one foot in front of the other for a dance, right? And hey-ho, and I did the course and I got a distinction. And then Westwood asked me to work for them.
So when you were doing that course, is that like learning all the physiology of fitness? You were learning and everything?
Yeah, the physiology, it was really good, because I have to tell you, there are a lot of other fitness courses out there, but the depth of knowledge you get from the NCF and Limerick University is incredible.
But did they also think it to teach you some of those frameworks of fitness, like the aerobics? And
absolutely. You got taught how to do the classes, you know, properly, and, you know, all the other things that you need to be aware of, like screening people when they come in. I don't see anybody doing this anymore. I've gone to so many classes myself, and they never ask the question, because half the time they're more interested in looking at themselves in the mirror than they are about who they have in their class, right? And I've constantly say that to young people that have come and you know, shadowed me in my studio, and they are on the phone. And I'm like, guys, seriously? You want to be a trainer and you're on your phone? The person has paid you a significant amount of money. They want eye contact all the way here, right? And it's only by reading the person that you're working with as well, because a lot of people are doing stuff, but they're not saying what the real problem is. Well, and particularly with overeating and stuff like that. That's a very complex subject.
Classes in the gym, like when I used to do calisthenics. We were talking about different fads. Calisthenics, I loved that, and it was very clear what the exercises were. Then I used to do aerobics. The teachers were always very clear. You know, they would teach the step and then you do it.
That's the way they were trained.
But I went to a dance class. I should do a whole piece in the show about it.
I know. I saw it. I could so relate to that.
But that happened to me in a gym. I saw a kind of dance movement class, and I just remember I used to do in Brixton Rec. When I lived in London, I used to go to Brixton Recreation Centre, and the gym would be packed, and it was a kind of step aerobics class. And the teacher was phenomenal. Yes. And I loved the energy of everybody together with the music.
Yeah.
I went to this class. I couldn't believe it. It was like a choreographer coming in going,
Oh, no, I know.
and
Yeah.
it was like we were auditioning for a Broadway show or something.
Yeah.
He didn't break down any
Nothing.
move. And also they were Latin moves.
Yeah.
So they didn't have that
And
specificity.
did he actually screen you at the beginning? Did he say,
No
does anybody in the class have a back injury or whatever? I mean, we had this all verbatim. Even now, somebody coming in for even a consultation, screening form first.
No checking in what level people. But it's also the movements didn't have, to me, a clarity for a class like that.
Yeah.
And then he would just do a sequence and everybody had to go.
Yeah.
And half the class weren't joining it. There was no unity.
No, I know. There's lack of personality. A lot of the classes they're just androgynous. They're just guys and girls sitting on, even if it's a spin class, sitting there pumping out, the exercise. But there's no, there's no charismatic. There's nothing charismatic about them. And a lot of them are not paying attention to their client. That's what I've seen.
Actually, that is a magic thing you've just said about people who lead classes. When I think back to the best teachers you used to go to, they had that charisma.
Yeah.
Where they would bring everybody with them.
Yeah.
And you would go out fitter.
Absolutely.
But on a high because you had a communal experience.
Exactly.
I have not experienced that in a class for, I would say, the last 7 or 8 years.
Well, I believe that real, specialised training is about making your customer feel good about themselves. And it doesn't matter what size, shape you are, right? Is that when they leave you after being with you for an hour, and it might be 2 hours a week that they see you, right? I get them to try and find time for themselves for 1 hour in a day. That they walk out that door and they go, I'm actually feeling good about myself now. Because most people are hammering themselves, criticising the inner voice, criticising everything about themselves, right? And then maybe they go home and the household is criticising everything they're doing as well. From the dinner that they made the night before to you name it, to you can't be going out like that. You're going out like that? You must be joking. Or whatever, who knows? But I just think it's really nice to have that gift in life. One of the guys I used to train, she said to me, you know what your greatest gift is? And I said, I was going to say bullshit. And he said, no. He said, your motivational skills. Because he suffered himself with depression. And he said, I wouldn't have gone out today, only you came to the house. And he literally held my hand and took me around the block and came back and, we did the exercises, but not in a Sergeant Major way. Come on, I said, come on, let's do a little bit. Sure, I'm here now, we might as well do it.
And it's so true you said, because when I experienced going to that class, where
you go out feeling like a failure.
I was looking at myself. It was like shameful just looking at me. I just felt so much worse about myself. I thought at least I've got rhythm, at least I can move, and then I'm standing there going, I've 2 left feet. Yeah. I was literally.
You were very good with your Michael Jackson backward walking on stage though that night.
I did. I joked that I ended up standing there like my mother at a disco.
Yeah. I know.
But I did feel like that.
Yeah.
I actually did just walk out.
Yeah, but you see, that's not good teaching if somebody makes you feel, that
but
you're...
also I was looking at it was mainly younger girls in the class, but they were having a similar experience because so many of them couldn't keep up and they were just staying with it. And
I get people of all ages, young, and old, all ages, literally, across the spectrum. Most of them who have memberships in gyms, but they come to me because they say, I go in the door and I'm so intimidated, and I feel I can't approach the guy, or the girl to say, this is how I'm feeling, because there's much more to weight and weight gain than just overeating. And I really hate when I hear people saying, why don't they just close their mouth? The skinny minis will say, oh, why don't they just close their mouth? And I go, they're barely eating. Their metabolism has gone down to zero. Yeah. Like they're on cortisol, adrenaline, and because of the jobs that they do, really high pressure. So it's very blasé and wrong of people to just turn around and say the only reason someone's overweight is because they're overeating. That's not true.
No,
it's not true.
But the message you do get, because I think that people who are naturally thin do not know what it's like. I'm naturally heavy. I was a fat kid. I've been thin in my life, but it's always...
Well, once you enlarge your fat cells, I was the same. When my dad died, everybody thought the cutest thing they could do for me was to come in and give me a packet of Gold Grain biscuits, and I duly ate them. until my mother took me to the doctor when I was 9. I think it was about 12 stone. And the doctor said, there's nothing wrong with her, except that she's, eating too much. So I was like mortified. My brother used to sing, the song, the Osmonds, and they called it Puppy Love. Well, he changed the words too, and they called it Puppy Fat.
I know, my brother and sister were really skinny, and I was just the fat. I think I was very sensitive, and I ate.
Well, I do think there is very much. I think the softer you are on the inside, the more likely you are to be rounder on the outside.
Yeah, it's
because you internalise a lot of the hurt.
I have to say, one.
And then the comfort eating starts when, you fall, Mammy gives you the biscuit because you've hurt your knee.
Yeah.
And that's where it all starts. You start then going, associate any upset in your life, I'm going to go and eat.
Oh, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I always remember this in school. I think it was the year I was 9 or 10. There was an exercise in the maths book of weigh everybody in your class.
What?
And I remember reading this and just dreading the day that it would come to we'd all weigh each other, because I was huge compared
That's why
to
I couldn't do
everybody
Weight Watchers now. I can understand when people say to me, I can't go to Weight Watchers. The idea of weighing me in and telling everybody in the class that you didn't lose any weight. You're scolding them. It's like Operation Transformation.
Or like
they asked me to go on the programme, and I said, no, absolutely not. I said, taking people in overweight, stripping them down to their underpants and humiliating them on public television and telling them, they know they're fat. They know they're overweight. And now you're rubbing it in, you've salt into the wound. Sorry, that's not the way to encourage somebody to try and change their eating habits, because that's all it is. It is a change. And it can be, you can do it. But you have to want to.
But it's very hard when you get older.
It is. It's much harder because your metabolism naturally slows down. So every year over the age of 21, you're losing 1% of your metabolism, right? Speed, I mean, of your metabolism. Now, other things affect that. It can be depending on the amount of medication you were on as a child. Maybe you were more prone to chest infections, antibiotics. The functionality of your liver plays a huge role, and that also gets blocked. I mean, I've had clients who never drank in their lives but had fatty liver, and that was from cortisol in their body, leaving fat deposits because they can't digest their food.
So it sounds like because you have a business also called Bodyworks.
I had a weight loss course in Westwood.
Do you still work with weight loss, or is that part of
I do. The name of my business is Women on the Run.
Women on the Run.
Busy men and women who haven't time to look after their health and well-being. So I've been 33 years doing that now.
So when you do that with your clients, it's not just about their fitness then, is it? It's about...
I ask them all about their lifestyle, their eating habits, everything. I explained to them about satiation food, because I did, food science as well, and slower releasing energy. So I created a program with a niece of mine around the, better energy food. Like you have a choice. Also, the problem is that there's just too much food everywhere we turn. And really since COVID, I mean, it was funny, recently I had Spanish students staying here because I took them in over the summer, and one of them said, why does everybody in Ireland walk around with a cup and food in their hand? Because they don't do that in Spain, right? If you look at our Mediterranean counterparts, they are a lot slimmer than us. We have become like America. We've become the 51st state of America when it comes to food, the consumption of food. You only have to go to Cornels Court here on a Thursday during the day, and the amount of food that people are putting into their trolleys, and that's only a week shopping, right? In other countries, that would be a month they'd be putting in. We're obsessed with food.
Well, in Spain, they do have the culture. They have a cookery culture that we never really had here.
No, exactly. Yeah. But I think it is improving, but it's only in certain areas. It really is. And I think some of the improvement is because of the competition amongst women as well. Yeah. They want to look their best. But then you have now this new Ozempic drug has come into the market. And I'm sorry, but I'm worried sick about people staying on it long term. And if you don't continue to take it, you're going to put that weight back on. Right?
I've been on Ozempic.
Yeah.
Because I had 2 stone that I just
couldn't shift.
Not lose. And I had fatigue, and I thought, I'm going to do this because the positivity of losing, I feel so much better about myself since I lost that 2 stone, but I need to come off it, and I am slightly terrified against the...
And you remember, it's not just taking fat. No drug can just remove fat from your body, okay? That's not That's not possible, okay? So you are losing muscle fibre as well,
I feel
okay?
that, yeah.
And people need to be educated around this, and the people who are selling this should be also giving an exercise program of resistance training to counteract, you know, what's going on with the Ozempic.
Have you worked with people who've been on it?
Yeah,
But have you seen people? This is not she asked in desperation. How about when people come off it?
Well, you see, you really have to look at what got you to the being overweight in the first place to understand, and everybody's different as to how that occurred, right?
But the weight just seemed to pile on for me without me particularly
overeating or anything. Yeah, but that's also because menopause, you know, female body. You maybe never did resistance as a younger woman. I'm always telling the young girls, my daughter's age group in their 30s, you need to do, and I know you're all out walking the block, but you need to do some resistance training as well. It really is very, very important, right? Muscle atrophy occurs with menopause, right? Yeah. It's a natural thing, and there's nothing you can do, but you can counteract it by lifting weights, you know. So, I mean, kettlebelling, using, you know, fit balls with weights, or the gym in a box I was showing you earlier, the resistance tube.
Tell us about gym in a box.
Yeah, so it's a resistance tube. It's on my website. You can use anywhere. So if you're traveling with work, or you have to go to conferences or stuff, or even if you're working from home and it doesn't suit you to be able to get, because one of the biggest problems now is time for people.
Yeah.
So the gym wants you to sign up to, you know, a subscription every month, right? And you think, oh, I'll definitely get there. But the fact of the matter is, when I worked in Westwood, you came the first month, you went 3 times a week. But the second month, it was twice. And by the third, once. And after the fourth, we didn't see you again.
Yeah.
Right. And you didn't want to cancel it in case you know, had to pay that initiation fee again. So they're bankrolling. The gyms are bankrolling.
Yeah.
Big time. I remember even back then, there was about 40,000 members, of which only 5,000 regularly used the gym over the year.
Wow.
The rest were intending to, but never got there.
Yeah.
So it's incredible, you know, but it is important. But I also think that there's a fixation as well about me and my body, my looks, all this, when in actual they're missing being out, you know, lovely countryside, you know, enjoying nature while you can, you know, get out and do the walks, fresh air, go cycling, stop obsessing.
But it's got worse than ever.
It's got worse than ever. Oh.
Because if you're in any, what do they call it, forward, what's the business term? Customer facing, forward, public facing business at all, you have to be on social media.
Yeah.
And social media we're bombarded with this perfection. Yeah. God knows how many filters are involved. And there's this whole idea of, what's the
And that is all they're doing, is videoing, like for hours on end, you know, these videos that they're making. I have asked a couple of people that I know who've used that, like, did you get any customers from it? No. And I said, and do you want to know why? And they said, yeah. I said, because you're not telling your customer what you're going to do for them. You're only talking about yourself. Yeah. You keep talking about what you do, what you work at, what you work out as. Yeah. But you're not saying to the person with the real issue, here, this is how I'll help you get started, get back going. It's so intimidating for somebody if they're seeing that as their, you know, body that they're trying to achieve. It's impossible.
All the influencers and anybody like in the business I'm in, entertainment or whatever, you just feel, I just all the time have this feeling, oh, you know, you're not fully professionalizing what you do if you don't have everything perfect, if you don't have the Botox, if you don't have
it's terrible.
The ripped abs, if I've crooked teeth like so many Irish people, if you don't get them straightened,
if
you don't get the what?
I'm joking.
What did you say?
Did you have to mention that? My crooked shoes. No, but it's true.
It's worse than ordinary human beings. And then it's, of course, coming from the, you know, the acme of all this America. So you've got the I look at some of those women, like I was looking at J-Lo. Yeah. I was, last night, she just came up on my feed and I was looking at, because she's wearing the most unbelievable costumes on her current tour.
But look,
she's 56 years of age.
56, but she also spends every waking hour working on that body, right? Practical women, you know, normal girls that have children to look after, husbands the same, you know, they're running a home, they're trying to work. It is not a practical life, and it is not going to work. And then you're putting yourself under more pressure to try and have this perfection, right? What's wrong with being Joe Normal? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with not being famous either.
Yeah, but there is a sense that
you're a
certainly
failure
in the
if you haven't got
corporate
it.
world or whatever. I remember in a business course I did, one of the lecturers, and I was quite shocked. But one of the lecturers in her 30s, and she was quite openly saying in one of her little posts, I just got my Botox done. She was only 36. She was gone, I get this done. If we didn't have the patriarchy, I wouldn't. But I take myself seriously, and this is the standard. And I
absolutely.
have to do this. And I thought,
all I can say is it doesn't make them any happier. Seriously, it doesn't. And I had a beautiful client, and she started getting into this, right? So she got liposuction in a clinic not too far from here.
Wow.
And she went home, and after the operation, because the surgeon had flown away the same day, and her belly button fell out. I said, like, this is crazy. You don't need any of this. You're a naturally beautiful woman with gorgeous skin. Most Irish women have the most incredible skin.
Yeah.
They do. And, it's a head wreck. And they're not any happier.
No.
They're not.
And, and you think something like liposuction, I remember reading about it, that can be very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh no, really. Like when that thing goes in, it doesn't just go for. It goes after everything.
Yeah.
Like you could suck on a kidney.
Yeah.
You could do damage to your organs. It's the same with the plastic surgery, the face, all this, where they're getting the head, forehead lifted and all this. Crazy. I've had clients where it went really wrong for them. They nearly died on the table. Right. I know another woman. She had a breast implant, and the implants burst, and she nearly got poisoned to death. Right. It's a Western world problem.
It's extraordinary with social
but it's all
media now, the
brainwashing.
way it is, and how you can get into these tiny bubbles, and it can be the way I look, and they have to be this way, and then the wider picture in the world.
Well, I'm always saying that to people. You need to get beyond the canopy. You need to pull back the camera lens. You're obsessing down a rabbit hole here. You need to pull right back and look.
That's a phenomenal message from a personal trainer, because I would have thought so many personal trainers would be totally in that loop of the body perfect. But I love where you're coming from, Cathy.
And most of the people that came to me said, oh, thank God, when they came in the door, you're not one of these stick-thin, skinny minis. But I am strong, and I'm really fit, and I'm sporty. I've always been sporty, and I love what I do. I love, any game I'm on. And despite even having my hip done recently, I'm still, trying to maintain all that.
You had a hip replacement.
I've had two. I had the right one done 10 years ago.
Coming from a fall.
Yeah, I slipped in a restaurant. Oh, it's probably 15 years ago now, could be more. And I burst my hamstring on this leg from the inside out. It's actually 20 years. And I had a hamstring burst from the inside out, avulsion off my bottom, landed on my right hip. They left wax on the floor, and my heel went on the wax, and I couldn't stop my leg from slipping. And I fainted with the pain, you can imagine. Like it ripped off my bum.
Yeah.
And when I went for help afterwards, the orthopaedic guy said, listen, I'm more worried about your right hip. And I said, why? And he said, because you've triggered an arthritis with the impact, right? Which you can do. And that was it. He was absolutely right. Like 5 years later, I needed a hip replacement.
So you've had two hip replacements.
So this was done 10 years ago, and I had this one done 5 months ago.
And how is it now?
Well, I went to I bum steer, went to the wrong surgeon. So my left leg is now 2 centimetres shorter than my right. I may have to have revision surgery. But we'll deal with that next month.
I'm amazed you can show it.
I don't know what to say. It's been horrendous. Like I was sent out of a private hospital with nerve damage, a leg 2 centimetres shorter. We've subsequently studied a lot about what could have gone wrong. And basically, if you have a leg length difference of anything more than 500 millimeters, you've had a bad hip replacement. It's a failed hip replacement. And no, not a 2 centimetre leg difference. A 500 millimetre could maybe correct itself. The body might adjust, but no. This can't.
So is that going to?
It's already affecting my back. It's already affecting my walking. My physio said she's never seen anything like it. She's like, you could go to a cobbler and get a lift on your shoe and all this. I'm like, what? You know, no, you can't put 2 centimetres of an orthotic into a shoe. Sure, heel would be sticking out of the shoe, right? So
Okay, how are you giving all that a place? Because I would, I had a thing with I had an eye operation, and I ended up. It was like, oh, no problem. With me, there's just a tiny little risk that there'll be any problem, and I've lost most of the vision in this eye. And when I think about it, I could just.
Oh well, I did cry. Don't worry,
I still cry about it.
I got the assessment done recently with the girl I used to go to physio for, and I just came out and just sat in the car and cried my eyes out, and then I said, right, I'm going to go continue on with my day, go to the pool, do my rehab, you know, face that when it comes to it, and I have to see this other surgeon now, not the guy who did it, obviously, a different man who's going to take you know, he'll advise me on where we're going to go.
Are you going to sue the guy who did that bad?
Well, I'm very tempted. Yeah, I've been told to.
When I had a bad operation, I was tempted to, and then somebody said to me about suing. One person said to me, anybody who sues for medical negligence, good on them, because you force a better standard of healthcare.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, somebody else said to me that you don't get better. It takes a long time litigation, and it kind of holds you in that place.
Well, that is.
So there's a whole.
It's very complex. It is very complex. I definitely want, you know, for this surgeon not to get away with this without there being something. So you can go to the medical council first and put in a complaint. You can do that first. That doesn't cost anything. If you're going to sue, it's going to cost. It's going to cost you to get a good lawyer.
And there's also a 2-year, isn't there?
No, that's what PIAB, that's Personal Injuries Bureau. That's a different claim system.
There was a 2-year moratorium on.
No, you can with the operations, but you have up to 2 years to put in your claim for a bad surgery, right? Because you have to see the long-term effect. Basically, if something is affecting you, they don't care that the scar doesn't look good. They don't care that, you know, your leg is 2 centimetres shorter. It's what's the long-term effect of that to the patient, right? Is it a permanent, you know, problem? And in my case, it will be, right? It's going to affect how my pelvis sits, how my back functions. I've already had my discs popping out in the last 3 months. I was literally out in the garden going, Jesus, I can't move. You know, and I'm living on my own. So, like, I don't need to be in a situation where I can't manage myself in the house, you know. And I'm too young to be left in this condition. And I've no intentions of staying in this condition. So, you know, it is something I have to take very seriously, because I've been laughing it off, but it's not funny.
It's not funny. And were you utterly shocked when this was the outcome?
Yeah.
Like, was there nothing anywhere in your mind that this?
Well, I first of all asked, why did I have no feeling in the front of my leg? Because he gave me nerve damage as well. So I kept asking in the hospital, why did my leg feel like I had jellyfish being thrown at me all night? And I wasn't getting the answer. And then I finally got told that it was nerve damage.
That can happen.
And the answer was, that's why you signed a waiver. So there was absolutely no empathy whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get out of the bed and grab the guy by the throat and go, he knew. I told him what my career was. I told him that I'd been a personal trainer all my life. I told him that I intended to continue. That's why I chose to have it done anteriorly. Yeah. I wanted to get, you know, out quickly, back out, because I work for myself. Yeah. I had to go to the bloody social welfare for the first time in my life and bang down the door to get a few quid. And I mean a few quid. My sister came home from America. She's in... She lives in Florida, and she kept saying before the operation, I have this really weird feeling. And then she said, I'm coming to mind you. And I said, mind me? I don't need minding, for God's sake. I'll be lifting me weights, you know, by the fall. Well, did I eat those words? I was like an 80-year-old here with a leg twice the size.
Oh, my God.
Honestly, it was shocking.
Yeah.
And literally empathy, none. And then in the hospital as well, like no care. I was still in the same bed for 12 hours after the operation. Still in the same clothes, asking, could I please have a shower? Oh. Right? Could you change my bed even? It was shocking. And to think that I was paying for this because I have private insurance, shocking.
It's a thing that I found very upsetting too, what happened to me. Absolute.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Like when
unbelievable.
When the physio said, oh, you know, go to a cobbler and get, I'm like, what? Like, hang on a minute, I like to wear sexy sandals. You know, I like to wear...
You're elevated.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and now you're telling me I'm going to be going around in these, you know, basically a pair of men's shoes. That's what I had to buy recently for training, you know, to go walking in, because I can't fit the orthotic into an ordinary shoe. I have to have a shoe that's slightly bigger to put in the lift that's in the shoe. And what's the stage of the lift they gave me? I went to the HSE for the physio because I didn't have money to pay for private physiotherapy, you know? So you really are gazumped when you're self-employed here. There is no backup whatsoever. There's nothing.
Yeah.
You know? And you say, well, you know, I've chose that. I did, because I love doing what I do. But at the same time, that has to change. Like, most people who are self-employed, they provide 94.6% of the exchequer, right, to the Irish economy. Right? It's not the big corporates they're not paying corporate tax. We are. You are. I am. You know.
And VAT. I find the VAT a killer.
Yeah, and then we can't get a thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It really is. So I do a bit of mentoring as well. People say to me, you know, they want to set up their own business. And I'm like, okay, but does anybody in the house have regular income? Because, you know, you need to have both, really. Yeah. You know, I have a friend that's a tour guide, and she has a regular part-time with the institute, the German institute, and she's, you know, freelancing in tour guiding, and she's talking about, you know, maybe wanting to do something. And I'm like, well, don't give up that part-time job, because we're going into a recession. The world's going to, you know, pretty soon we're going to start. We're already seeing the effects of it in the economy.
This is interesting. This is I didn't think we'd be talking about this, but do you? This is interesting because you're a business. Do you think the world's going into recession?
Definitely, and I think that a lot of the business people I train are saying the same thing. You know, they're saying, I'm glad. Well, some who have retired are saying, I'm glad I'm out of the race now. I'm glad I'm not. You know, I'm glad I've made my money. Right. Yeah. But I mean, already my kids are in their 30s, late 30s, and they're already saying, you know, their companies are not recruiting at the moment. There's no hiring. You know, I was in Evoca yesterday, and a friend of mine, her daughter's looking for some part-time work, and this supervisor up here in the Evoca in Pariscourt, and they're all friends. And I said, you know, would you have? And she said, we can't even get enough hours for the current staff. Wow. Because she said, we're closing early half the time. Wow. Yeah.
There's so many things going on. There's the Trumpian economics.
We've never been through so much change.
Which is creating so much uncertainty. But with AI, nobody knows.
But as a human race, this is the most change the human race has gone through or is going through than ever before in mankind. And this is why the stress levels are so high. You've got the climatic changes as well.
You were talking about that too.
People are worrying about all this.
That you really changed your own behaviour.
Yeah, I did. I stopped flying.
After COVID.
Yeah, I did. And I'm also, you know, I'm cutting way back on flying, unnecessary flights. I don't shop online. That's deliberate, right? I mean, buying a T-shirt from China and then you're sending it back because the size wasn't right. Like, did you see all the local shops that are closed? Go into Dalkey Village. Yeah. There's hardly a shop open. Like, there's restaurants and cafes, but they're turning over as well. You know, the number of cafes opening and closing. Within 5 years of one opening up, they're gone, right? And then the same with the shops. You know, everything's going online. You see half the big stores now. I think River Island are talking about.
River Island.
They're about to go as well. So, you know, but people are just doing it anyway.
I mean, but you see,
like,
when
they look at me like I'm bonkers that I don't shop online. You know, and I'm like, no. And I've got loads of clothes anyway. Because I spent half my life in Lycra. Sounds like I was, you know, doing other things. But I have spent half my life in Lycra. But
I love this conversation with you, Cathy, because I thought, we'll talk about fitness, and then there'll be a little bit of life coaching. And I could see that you've done lots of other things in your life. But, like, your perspective on life is really as inspiring, and it's just amazing that you just have that. You come with the whole worldview, with the whole value. Like, I would say, number one, what I'm getting from you is a very strong value system.
Very. That
informs that's the core of Cathy.
Yeah.
And then the fitness and everything else comes out from that. But
absolutely.
The values.
And I love sharing what I've learned as well.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people don't do that, you know. You ever go networking? You know, you go into a room full of women and you want to, and then you're getting nothing back. They're just standing there.
Yeah.
And you might be saying, does anybody have a contact in Zurich? Because I really want to go in. I've created this new wellness talk. I'm dying to go in and do the talk, you know, and I think that would be a good place to bring it, you know. And, no, and nobody's giving you a word, right? And I have set more people up. I've connected more people. I'd be going, do you know who Anne should meet now?
Yeah.
The next time I'm out, I'm going to suggest this. You should meet this other woman because she'll take you the show somewhere else or vice. I'd be sitting here going, well, nobody's...
It's very, I've experienced that in my own life. It's very disappointing when you don't get that back. But
you don't do it.
You don't do it because you think, what are my values and how do I want to be in the world? And you stay true to that.
I always say, like at this stage of my life, we're in the 3rd chapter, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, well, what's going to be your legacy? What are you leaving behind? What do you want to be remembered for? You know, was it all the material things you had? No, definitely not. No. Love of life, absolutely. Passion for people, kindness. I've said this over and over again. If you can't be kind, you can't be anything in my book. So I've said it to my kids. Show a bit of kindness. Show a bit of compassion. You know, they could have been having a bad hair day. Yeah, you know, there really is. Most people are good, except for a couple that we know of. We won't talk about them today.
Yeah. As my producer Paul Farron said, his saying is, everyone is having a day.
Yes.
Everyone is having a day.
I can have days myself, but I'm not in the mood. Not now.
Yeah. Your positivity is so inspiring. I really think that you should have a podcast because like
I have thought about it.
But all those strands are so important. The people are concerned about their fitness and their the nutrition and everything. But it's just the whole package is.
Yeah, I hear you, but I think there's still such an amount of people who aren't doing anything, and I think it's because they don't know where to start to begin with.
And it seems overwhelming.
And it's overwhelming.
It is,
but the industry is overwhelming.
With so much.
The gym industry needs to be regulated. It isn't. It's like the website design. It's not regulated either. And I can tell you, as a businesswoman, the amount of times I've had websites, even the last one that was made to me, by absolute BSers, right? They are not web designers, right? They're good salesmen. But the back end of your website is, you know, shocking what they've done, right? And it's so you could turn around in the morning and say, I'm the new Uncle G is the new aerobics instructor online for women over a certain age, blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing to stop you doing it because it's not regulated. When I won Best Freelance Trainer in 2019, we spoke about it actually at the conference that we were at, saying, you know, because there was everybody from the fitness industry and more. And we were saying, like, it has to be regulated because every Tom, Dick and Harry is claiming to be a trainer and they have done a fitness instructor's course in the gym. They're not personal trainers. There's nothing personal about them, right? So it's crazy that, as you say, all this stuff online. I know lots of my children's friends, they've turned off their social media. It's very pleasant.
I remember reading an article one day saying we're going to reach peak social media and then it will taper off.
It has.
And I was going, no, because so many people who run businesses like me depend.
Do you know that I have so many clients that I've trained? They have, and one of my girls, a beautician I go to, she doesn't have a Facebook page. She doesn't have Instagram. She still has a landline, right? She's flying.
Sorry, I'm crying about your leg because it's just, you know.
I know it's not. I mean, I was talking to my sister. I'm not happy.
I know.
The
but
thought
it's
of
just,
going in for another operation is like, whoa, no.
I know, but
because it's months of recovery. You know, people make out hip replacements to be like getting a tooth pulled.
Yeah,
it's second only to heart surgery.
Yeah,
right. It's massive. It is.
You know, that's the thing about now that kills me is that you go in for major surgery and it's like they want to get you out quick. So everything is diminished.
Yeah.
Everything is diminished now.
Go home now and look after yourself. I remember after I had breast cancer and after my mastectomy and they came down the next day and they went, are you ready to go home? Yeah, and you haven't even, like, you've just lost part of your body.
I said, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I was feeling so vulnerable.
Of course.
And then I felt bad. I said, I'm not actually ready to go home.
Yeah.
I feel afraid.
Yeah. I know. I said the same. I actually said to the nurse the day before I left, I said, how am I going to manage? I can't lift my leg in or out of bed.
Yeah.
I'm having to use a towel. Like I had absolutely no power in my leg whatsoever. And I said, like, I'm on my own. I said, I can't expect my daughter to, give up work to come out. And thankfully, as I said earlier, my sister did come home, and I'm so grateful to her. Like, I would have been stranded if she hadn't have been here.
But in all that, like when I went through the thing with my eye, it was the lack of empathy.
Oh, there was no empathy.
When the doctor was telling me that I had the central vision was gone and wasn't going to come back.
Yeah.
It was in a room with people walking through, and they were interrupted 3 times, and I went, so will it come back? And they went, no, it's lost, it's gone.
It's gone.
And then it was goodbye.
Yeah.
We can't do it. And the lack of empathy. And I always go, because I just get from the values that you bring to your own work, that what is the point of being involved in the medical profession if you cannot be present to the person in front of you?
Well, my dear friend, he's a cardiologist. He's retired now, professor, and he's the one pushing me to make noise about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like doctors normally, they support each other. Because I know people everybody can make a mistake. Look, you can make a mistake making the cake, as I did this morning. I dropped the old tin as I was putting it into the oven. So, you've half of the debris of the oven, what was on the floor of the oven in the cake, you've just already eaten with me. But you feel great.
But the lack of empathy when you tell me that. It's just the lack of empathy as you tell me that the cake was on the floor of the oven. And you just don't.
But like, it is funny. And I honestly, when I found out in my 20s that I had this problem with my heart, and I did have a very serious episode with it, and I was given my last rites, but I told the priest to get lost because I needed a breast pump because I just had my son. Wow. And he sent him off cycling to Rathmines to get me a milk extractor. The priest on his bike. This was in 1987. Wow. And I said, no, I'm going home to my son. And they were there, anonymous battery over the bed, Baggot Street, intensive care. And I kept saying, can you just like feck off? Because I'm going home to my son tomorrow. Right. And I did go home to my son the next day. Right. I know I have very strong willpower. I have like unbelievable willpower to do stuff. Yeah. And if I have something in my head, I'm going to do it. That's it.
God help that surgeon.
But I got that from my mum. I did. I mean, she was a widow when I was, I was only 6. She was 48. Do
you remember your father?
Very little. No. I remember thinking that I had actually caused his death because I asked him to cook my sausages a different way, and he belted me with the newspaper, right? And he stormed out of the room. And then the next morning he was dead. He died in his bed. And I only found out from my older brother, like years later, that he had come back from his friend's funeral. And he was really upset. I didn't know. I was just sitting at the table. And those days you were like sat around the table and the father came in. And I was convinced that I had killed my father from asking him to cut the sausages the other way because he got so annoyed, right, with me.
And what was it, a heart?
Yeah, he had a heart attack. Yeah. So we were very, by the time I was a latch door kid, basically. Yeah. So by the time I was in my late 6, 7, 8, 9, I was coming into an empty house. I used to put the clock back on my friends because I'd be not wanting to be in the house on my own. And then, of course, they were all got into trouble for being late home, and then they were told they couldn't come out and play with me anymore.
So it was not only your mother's entrepreneurial spirit dealing with the fact that your father passed away suddenly, and
we were launched into this.
It's you were very independent from when you were young.
Yeah, and my sister was 4 years older than me, so she would have been fantastic. She kind of stepped into the role really, because my mum later on, when the rag trade fell asunder, she also got late depression. They called it reactionary depression. Because she buried herself in work because she knew she had to. Yeah. And then 10 years later, rag trade was on his knees in Ireland. She got depression. I was doing my leaving cert and she wasn't in a good place. I can remember asking the nuns to pray for her,
And how did she get through it?
Well, she got help. She went and got help. Which I'm always encouraging people. I had my son suffered with depression later in life, and I also, anybody, I say to them, listen, if you're not feeling good about yourself in your head, get some help.
And it's so complex, isn't
Because
it?
it's so complicated.
It can be circumstantial, but it can also be just dispositional.
Absolutely.
And I think Irish people do have
we do, definitely.
kind of a dark...
Absolutely.
It's Celtic.
And it's also the SAD, the seasonal affective disorder. Like, I hear people saying to me, oh, do you feel autumn's coming in now? Can you feel the autumn? And I'm like, yeah, can feel the autumn, yeah. And then, you know what's coming next. Like, I can't stand the idea of these dark evenings coming, you know.
I feel that deeply, you know.
Yeah.
I love the end of April.
Yes.
May,
the whole
coming.
spirit
and
lifts.
this time of year, August.
Yeah.
It's kind of
a dread.
A dread.
And that's why I think it's so amazing that people with, you know, have the ability to say, right, I know that this is a risky time for me, right? And that's what they taught my son as well. You know, if you know that this is your vulnerable time, then, you know, you need to put in place the toolbox, the mental toolbox. And I've worked in this area with people saying, like, right, you know, you got to find the thing in your toolbox that'll take you out of the negative thinking. Like, you're born with a negative brain to protect you. But when the negative brain takes over, that's when you need help. And neuroscientists are able to show now the difference, you know, of what we need to do. And they're talking about it more. And people are talking about depression more as well. It's a natural progression as well when you go through menopause for women. You know, your estrogen levels dropping causes you to go into depression, right? And it's your body grieving for the estrogen. But you have to allow that. There's nothing wrong with you, you know, having those feelings. It's in all of the cultures across the world. But it's because we're all trying to stay young forever and we're battling this whole thing, which you spoke about earlier. It's incredible how people are negating what's really going on for them. You know,
and even though
it's okay to say I feel sad today.
Yeah,
you know, my kids will come in the door and say, "How are you today, Mum?" And I go, "I'm not great, actually."
But for all the people talk about it more,
yeah,
I still think people are very hard on themselves.
They are.
Because life demands that.
Yeah.
And we have that kind of American work ethic has come here.
Oh, absolutely.
And people are relentless with themselves. And that idea of genuine self-care is still really not part of the culture.
And I respect people who, you know, are aware of their vulnerability and be able to say, you know, we're not invincible. We're human beings. We make mistakes. We dust ourselves down and we start all over again. I don't know how many times I've done it. Loads of times, like even recently with, you know, doing the course in the tourism, you know, it was suggested to me by a client I had who brought over friends and I took them out for the day and then they said, God, they said they had a great time with you. And would you never consider doing tourism? And then the course came up.
Tell me about that.
In Soraghan. Where I grew up,
because you have another business.
Yeah, so I went to the course in Soraghan last year, and I started. It was a full year course, and like I had to do a written exam at the end.
Was that a tour guide course?
Yeah, regional tourism.
Wow.
And I loved it because I love history.
Yeah.
So I loved every second of it. I was doing that part time as well as doing, you know, my training with people and stuff. So
So you're starting a business now.
I've already started to work for a company, which is like a secret food tour company. It's Hidden Food Tours of Dublin. But I have also been, you know, doing some private tours, bespoke tours for people coming over here, staying in the local hotel there, Paris Court, and, you know, taking them out for the day and showing them my Ireland, right?
People love that.
They love it. But I also do have some really seriously good hidden gems that, you know, people don't know about.
I have a friend in Paris who does that, very bespoke tours, but it's just so enjoyable.
Yeah.
The relationship with your clients.
Because it's like, you know, you're taking a friend out for the day and you want to give them a good time.
And people want to get that personal experience.
It's going more towards that. I met a friend recently and she's been in tourism and she said, oh, it's going more into the personal, smaller groups. The big tour buses, people are a bit over it. Do you know what I mean?
Because you heard it in, you heard it in, you heard it out. Nobody wants to feel that you're just on that tourism treadmill.
Yeah.
Like I just recently was in Split in Croatia, and
Beautiful.
I was last there 25 years ago. There was still a feeling of after communism. It was after the war.
Yeah.
It was. But now you just feel like you're just being ripped off left, right.
Yeah, you are.
So different.
I can't get over the cost of tours. Because I did a thing in 2019. I went on a Nielsen holiday, because my stepdaughter was getting married and I haven't seen her since my breakup, 10 years ago. And my daughter was going to be her bridesmaid. Yeah. And I said, I can't cope with not going to her wedding. So I said to my daughter, I think the easiest thing for us all is I go away. Yeah. You go to the wedding and then we all reassemble next week, right? And I'll do my Shirley Valentine. Yeah. So I did. I went off to Greece on my own.
Wow.
And I had an absolute ball. It was a sports holiday, of course, but it was an amazing adventure. It really was. My first time to go away that length of time on my own. Wasn't sure if I was going to stick Wasn't sure if I was going to stick myself for the week, right? Yeah. But I had a ball, absolute ball. And was in, like, there was tennis, there was cycling, road biking, there was swimming.
Where did you go in Greece?
To a place called Provetsa. Saivota was the resort. It was tiny now, really spectacular. And I walked in the door of the hotel. Very nice. It was the most expensive holiday I've ever taken myself on. And I went out to the pool, and this Scottish woman came over to me when I was in the pool, and she said, "Oh, are you on your own?" and I said, "Is it that obvious?" And she said, "Well, you keep looking over at your bag like someone's going to stake it on you." And she said, "I'm here with my daughter, so do you want to join us for dinner tonight?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." And that was it. We went out, and she was there on, we kind of blended in when we wanted to, and we went off and did our own thing as well. But it was brilliant. But then I went back to look at going on one of the same holidays last year, and 4 times the price for the same holiday. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Don't have it. Yeah. Can't do it. Yeah. I'm hoping now this month to do a bit of cycling in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Holland.
Because there's amazing cycle tracks all across Europe, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the girls I met on the tourism course turns out to be a neighbour. We've been living beside each other for the last 36 years, but I didn't know her and she didn't know me. And now we're great friends.
And is she a cycle fanatic?
She's not.
Oh, sorry. I don't know where.
But I'm after encouraging her to think about going cycling. Because I was going to do another Camino, but because of what's going on with my hip at the moment, my physiotherapist said, there's no way you can go and do a Camino at the moment. You're only going to end up
But can you cycle
crocked.
okay?
Yeah.
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 And do you have a touring bike?
Because you can get a taller pedal. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I have a touring bike.
Do you?
No, I'm also.
So you're really serious.
I love cycling. Yeah. Always have been.
Yeah. So, and have you cycled a lot in Ireland? Have you done Wild Atlantic Way?
Oh yeah, love it. And here, I cycle in Wicklow. I was in a cycling club up until I got my hip done. Yeah. So I miss it terribly.
So you could introduce tourists to.
So I actually have and set up prior to COVID Dún Laoghaire cycle tours. And I had been doing group cycling tours with people in Dún Laoghaire, and then COVID came, and the guy who was providing me the bikes, we weren't allowed to share bikes, so we stopped. Like, COVID really stopped a lot for me because I had to close my studio then as well, and then the whole process of trying to go back in and relaunch yourself after COVID, because I had COVID myself for 18 months and then I got it again. And then just finding the energy to go and put, a studio back together. And as you know, all the marketing, all the stuff now, it's so changed. Yeah. I just didn't have the energy for it. I was like, I can't do this. Yeah. I just can't do it. So that was part of the reason for me doing the tourism as well. Yeah. Was just a change, But I could, I've recently been asked by one of the excursion companies to do the cycling tours for them for next year. Yeah. And I will. I'll put a package together.
I think there's a great moment for Ireland in the tourism thing, in that all the traditional places that people would have gone to are getting too hot.
Yes.
I mean, I used to love to go to the Greek islands in July or August, but I wouldn't go there now.
No, me neither.
I hate when it gets over
a certain. Well, a doctor recently on a program was saying if the temperature is above 36 degrees, which is the body's natural temperature, right? Yeah. Your blood is boiling inside you, right? So you could actually get a heat stroke, right? And people think heat stroke means you got too hot and you fainted. Yeah. No, you could actually have a stroke, like a proper stroke, with your blood boiling inside you. So, last year when I did a Camino, and I was walking along and I met these 2 guys from Holland, 2 Dutch boys. They were literally only in their early 20s. But I wasn't feeling great that day because it was too hot. It was well over. It was about 38. And I was feeling wonky, you know, from the heat. And it's easy for it to happen, you know. But I agree with you, because more and more people are coming to Ireland now because they're saying, well, you know what, there's a lot to be said for the cooler climate.
And even when it's raining or even when it's cloudy.
But we've so much to offer as well, and they really have upped their game on the places to visit, right? I mean, Brú-na-Bóinne, the oldest Neolithic site in Europe, incredible, right? In Newgrange. Newgrange, right?
Sorry.
But it's called Brú-na-Bóinne.
What's that? Was that language? What language is that?
Yeah, pardon. But it's older than Brú-na-Bóinne. It's older than the, you know, pyramids.
Pyramids, yeah.
And it's older than Stonehenge, and it's still intact. And some of the stone came here from the Sugarloaf. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I know, it's incredible, you know, that they're able to, with carbon dating now, they can see, you know, where the stone came from, what area and all that. There is actually an old megalithic site here, you know, as well, at the foot of the Sugarloaf, where a lot of Celtic rituals would have taken place. And I think that's the thing too, when you're talking to tourists, is to say, you know, you realise that before the invasions, you know, of Britain, we had a very close-knit, you know, Celtic community, and there is a very strong spiritual core to Irish people, right? And I do believe that. I do think we're very good. I mean, even the Dutch, the young guys that were here at the weekend were saying they can't get over how much we care about each other, because they said in Holland the people are not like that. They said, like, they don't give a damn.
My sister lived in Amsterdam for 15 years. Wonderful city, but the Dutch are very different.
Very.
It's everything's black or white, and it's lacks.
They said, like, the way you go out of your way for the hospitality, and it is true. Like, it's very hard to find that in other countries.
One thing about Ireland and tourism is I do think it's very expensive, and the food's not great in general.
Well, I have to argue that one now, because the food in Wicklow is out of this world.
Yeah, but you know, like in hotels down the country, there's a standard.
Yeah,
you just go.
You know, do you know what it is? It's the burger and chip thing. But
it's just the lack of a traditional food culture in Ireland really comes through constantly in a way you would never get that in Greece or Spain or anything in the most ordinary basic taverna. There's a kind of old tradition that this is the basic food.
Yeah, no, we've become Americanized completely.
Yeah, and
the menu is all, because a couple of the tours I've done in town, the food tours, I've had Americans ask me. They said, you know, where can I get traditional Irish food? Now the Boxty House does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is traditional Irish food?
Well, coddle. Yeah. Lamb stew, beef and Guinness stew, chowder, right? All of those things. Corned beef, mashed potato and cabbage, right? People come here for that. Like, one guy said to me he wanted to get a corned beef sandwich because his grandfather had told him that's what they ate as kids on the farm, which is true, right? And so I found a place for him. Sheehan's will do it at the top of Grafton Street. Oh, wow. They do corned beef sandwiches. Yeah. They actually have a traditional Irish menu in there. Yeah. So I agree with you. We need to see a lot more of that. And same at festivals. If somebody was to do, you know, an Irish food stand, they would be sold out. Yeah. Because everybody's sick of the same old, same old. Yeah. You know, it's cheeseburger and chips.
Your breath of interest is just, it's so funny. I keep occasionally just stopping and going, and what? I just think when it's done badly. Oh,
no, it's awful. The Boxty House do the most incredible coddle.
That's in Temple
Bar, yeah. And they do the most incredible coddle. And like the guys go, you know, what's coddle? And I'm like, it's the basic food. We lived on coddle as kids. My mother could afford sausages, but she didn't want to grill them or fry them. She boiled them with the potato, the onion and the carrot in the pot. Yeah. And it's delicious. And you won't beat mashed potato, you know. Johnny Fox's have it down to an art as well. Yeah. They do. And anyone who comes here to visit, I always send them up to Johnny Fox's. Because like your man Tony that owns it, he's incredible. He's a legend. I must try and get him to do an interview with you, Anne.
Cathy, I've absolutely loved this conversation with you. I've laughed, I've cried, and I have been utterly surprised because I thought I was coming out to talk about fitness and how can you wear that muscle.
The body.
What exercise would you recommend for that? I'm blown away by your sense of humour, the way that you can laugh at really dark things. I love all your values that you express, and your breadth of interests are phenomenal. Tell us about your philosophy of life, if you were to summarise it.
Well, I think I suppose in a funny way, the scariest time was when I was diagnosed with my heart condition in my 20s. I was petrified. I wouldn't leave the house, poor Paul. I wouldn't go on a holiday with them unless I knew there was a hospital in A&E nearby, right? And then I realised, like, what am I doing? You know, this isn't living. You completely boxed yourself in here. And then my confidence grew back. You mentioned about, you know, when you had your breast cancer and stuff, you lose your self-esteem, you lose your confidence, all these things that no one considers when you're going in for an operation. And I definitely think doing my course in fitness, because I was a late bloomer, because I didn't get the chance to go to college until I was an adult, you know. And then when I did that, that completely transformed me. The two women who ran the course were amazing as well. And then I realised now I'm in my zone. I really am in my zone. And I hadn't a clue how, you know, to construct the business, but I just knew I loved what I was doing because I was, again, in the right place at the right time, up in Killiney Castle, asked to do the training for them. And at the time I said, you must be joking. But anyway, I'll do it for a month and see how I get on. And 33 years later, I'm still doing it. Because I then educated myself. Working in Westwood as well at the time, they used to give you incentives to go on courses and, you know, develop your skills more. And it was a very different industry to the way it is now, right? I'm very blessed with the clients I've met along the way. I've had the most amazing opportunities, some of whom are best friends now, you know. And they've shared, you know, so much interesting things with me, because you're not just doing and anyone who thinks that personal training and physical fitness is just about shouting the orders at somebody and, you know, pumping up their body, that is not real personal training. It isn't. It's, you know, you've got to be empathetic. You've got to know on the day that they're not in the mood, why are they not in the mood, you know, how to change it up, how to change the channel, I call it, you know. You can change the channel. But it has been a wonderful experience, and I've met some amazing people, you know, some celebrities, some not, just ordinary folk. I am concerned where the industry is going. I am concerned that it's all aesthetics, that people are doing it for all the wrong reasons. You're doing this for longevity. You're doing your strength for longevity. To be honest with you, the older you get, the less you care about, you know, if I have a couple of wrinkles on my face, I don't care, as long as they're laughter lines. Seriously, that's the most important thing for me. You provide such an amazing show in your comedy show. I laughed till I cried that night. I want my sister to come and see you when she comes back from the States. Seriously, you nailed it. Everything that you were saying in that show, from lighting the Calor gas, you know, super Sarah, when we got with two options, either going to freeze to death or blow ourselves up. So we went for the blowing ourselves up. And thankfully, most of the time, it did light. And then everybody was lighting their cigarettes off it. Because you couldn't remember where you put the lighter. But anyway, I just think that, you know, life is for the living. And I think too many people are obsessing about what their body looks like, to the point they don't even notice the person sitting beside them. They're not chatting to the person beside, real chat. Do you know what I mean? They're just all the time putting themselves under all this pressure to be perfect. But what's wrong with just being ordinary, you know? And what's wrong with having a few pounds on you? I mean, the Norwegians have said for longevity, a BMI of 26, 27 is the optimum, because if you do get sick, you have a little bit of you know, energy to fall back on. And so it is your life. It is about energy. If you don't have the energy, it blocks you from doing other things and progressing. So to be as well and as fit as you possibly can be, I think is makes the journey easier. Life isn't easy. It's tough. It's full of roller coasters. It's up, it's down, it's in, it's out. But if you can try and just focus on giving yourself a chance, you know, eating better food, avoiding the sugars, you know, I know everybody loves to go out and have a good night. I'm the same, right? But then there comes a time, you can't do that every night of the week. You're fooling yourself if you think you can, right? And I think the older you get, the more inclined you are to, like, appreciate, you know, that you're still here for starters, because I know loads of my friends have gone. You know, cancer's everywhere. It's incredible. You've gone through. You know, and come out the other side.
And we both, I'm sure, lots of people you know.
So, you know, if you can try and you know, see it more as a health objective rather than look at me, haven't I got the perfect pecs? Haven't I got the perfect bum? Haven't I got the perfect abs? That's all social media. But that's not how most of the world are living or are looking to live. We're starting to lose our perspective on what, it's a very short journey. I'm in the 3rd chapter, I know that, right? Yeah. And it's, what's the message I want to pass on? You know, I'm passing the baton, but what is the message? It can't be all about me. Seriously, like it just can't be. That it was boring as shit, right? It has to be about nurturing people. That's why I think we need to be more respectful of the people who don't have as much and give them a chance and encourage them to, you know, education's really important. I've always encouraged it. And I don't regret one thing with my stepchildren, who I, as I said earlier, I don't see anymore, but I always encourage them to learn and to be educated. And I'm so proud of them. I know from my own kids what they're doing in their lives, you know, and I've always said, listen, you know, there are many ways to learn. It isn't all through a book, you know, and academia is only one of the 9 forms of intelligence, right? And there's so much emphasis on academia when there's so many brilliant people. And now they're starting to become aware of that as well. You know, you see Richard Branson, who is dyslexic, coming out. People are coming out and saying, well, you know, Jamie Oliver, I was dyslexic as well, you know, but he was told he was thick and he'd never achieve anything in life. You know, my mother did say to me one day, when was I going to get a real job? And at that point I was training, you know, Declan Ryanair's son, Daniel Day-Lewis, his wife, Pierce Brosnan production team. And I said, but I have a real job. And she said, you know what I mean, a job at a desk. And I said, but I have a desk, I just don't want to sit.
It's so interesting the way work is now. Isn't it so interesting the way it's, and now it's like so you were saying,
hybrid.
How...
but I had to adapt to hybrid training as well, because when COVID came, I had to adapt to doing the cat thing online. And I was watching your man Joe Wicks, was going, sure, I could do that.
Yeah.
You know? No, I prefer the podcast idea than, you know, the
there's a
video stuff.
The whole philosophy around it.
Well, I'm a radio head anyway, so I love listening to radio and podcasts, you know, because you can still get on with what you're doing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And
I really like the idea of fitness including all that other piece.
But it is. Anyone thinks it's just about training, they haven't got it. The penny hasn't dropped.
But it is the body beautiful. It just seems to be everything at the moment.
Yeah. Well, if you let it be. Yeah. But you know, you're an intelligent girl. There's more to life than that. It can't just be about that.
Well, because
you're going to live a very, very shallow life if you think it's all about that.
Well, at this age,
you know, because I've seen the most beautiful people, and they have not been nice people. They're not nice to other people. And I've seen the most incredibly charismatic people and worked with them. And they're wonderful to everybody. Yeah. They bring a joy to the other person's day, you know. And to me, that's what it's all about. Yeah. You know, if you can walk into a room and, you know, bring a bit of laughter and bring a bit of joy and cheer somebody up, it's just better than any tonic, isn't it? Yeah. It is. There's no medicine but laughter.
Cathy, I'm going to wrap it up on that. And thank you for that message. No better medicine than laughter. And I'll just wipe away the tears.
I know, I've really enjoyed this.
I really love chatting to you. You've actually changed my perspective on life. Oh. I've really learned so much from you. Cathy, thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
If you'd like to get in touch, you can email me on angildchats@gmail.com. Anne Chats is a Farron Gildee production produced by Paul Farron and Anne Gildee.